1 year after the brutal murders in Woodsboro, Sam and Tara Carpenter, as well as their friends, moved to New York to attend college. However, where they go, danger follows, as yet another Ghostface is terrorizing the city and zoning down on the Carpenter sisters. Now the sisters, as well as their friends, all have a target on their backs, both by the killers and each other. Because in a horror movie, you just don't know who you can trust. This is Scream 6. Scream 6 is the 6th film in the Scream franchise and the sequel of last year's requel of the Scream franchise. Paramount knew they had gold on their hands, so they jumped on this sequel pretty quickly. And honestly, I can't blame them. I enjoyed last year's Scream a whole lot, and I was really interested to see where they'd go with the sequel. And I gotta say, I think I enjoyed Scream 6 even more than the last one. This is a sequel that builds off what it sets up extremely well, making a bigger and bolder movie, and also delivering the same great amount of scares and satire you've come to expect from the Scream franchise. Once again, leading this film as the Carpenter sisters is Melissa Barra and America's favorite goth girl, Jenna Ortega. And I once again really enjoyed them in this film. They just have such a great dynamic between one another, and after the last film, there's another layer put on their relationship that will definitely have you invested. At least it did me. They just make for a great pair of leading ladies for a horror film. But the cast of supporting characters / suspects is also great too. Now, Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott may not be in this film, but there are some other Scream veterans here. Courtney Cox and Hayden Panettiere. Characters who are great in this film, and equally as great are the Carpenter sisters group of friends, Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding. And that is only the surface of the supporting cast in this movie. There are a lot of characters in this movie and a lot of potential suspects, and I really like that. Plus, all these characters you're probably gonna like. Or will you? You probably will. Or will you? You probably will. Or will you? And I made a mistake last year not to mention the actor who plays Ghostface's voice. I'm not making that mistake this year. Roger Jackson is so good as Ghostface. It surprised me to find out that he's been voicing Ghostface since the first film. But hey, he does an absolutely fantastic job at making this character extremely creepy, but all the while a little bit charming and in a weird way. And did you know that he also voiced Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls? Because I didn't know that either.
Doodle brain, that's it. I've had it with your sassy mouth. I didn't want to do this. Well, actually I did.
Now, if there's one thing the Scream franchise is known for, it's poking fun at the horror genre. And this film does that and more, to my surprise. No longer does the Scream franchise feel it needs to rely on tropes only found in horror films. Now it seems like if you're a movie franchise that has its own tropes, they're gonna make fun of you for it. And I can't help but feel like that's absolutely frickin' brilliant. Obviously, at its core, it's still a horror movie, but there are just so many tropes that are in other movies that equate to some really funny lines in this film. It kind of helps supplant Scream's place amongst the other big franchises of Hollywood, and not just the horror ones. Not saying it wasn't amongst the big franchises of Hollywood, but you know what I mean. As goofy and as tongue-in-cheek as this movie can be with its meta humor, it is frighteningly realistic. The kills in this movie are brutal as hell and honestly kind of terrifying. The scene in the bodega where Ghostface gets a gun is one of the scariest and most intense scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. Imagine if just during a chase scene in the forest, Jason Voorhees just pulls out an AK-47 and he just starts blasting. Maybe that takes away the scary bits to some people, but it was scary to me. But I think my favorite part about this movie, and it has nothing to do with the cast or the scares or the writing, which were all great, may I remind you. Loved everything about them. It comes all the way down to the setting of the movie. New York during Halloween. Yes, I love that setting so much. Now, I've never been to New York, so I can't really speak to the authenticity of its depiction here, but I can't help but imagine it's at least pretty faithful. I wouldn't be surprised if in New York you just turn a corner and get stabbed. Seems pretty realistic to me. But this film plays with the New York setting so well, and the Halloween aspect really doesn't add too much, but it just gives a good vibe to the movie, and I just really loved it. Can Scream 7 take place during Christmas? Now that would be awesome. But really, I enjoyed this film a whole lot. I liked it a lot more than the last one, which, again, I thought was really good. But this one, I love the characters, I love the writing, I love the setting, I love the scares. It's just a film I really enjoyed. And if you're a Scream fan, I highly recommend it. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and if you did, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when my next review drops. Oh, and by the way, check out the website. Until next time, I'm Quint Dunaway, hoping you will keep it cinematic.